Hey, thanks for joining me. Hope you're doing well. We live in a holographic matrix, and science already confirms this. Atoms are 99.9% empty space. That's right, atoms make up matter and are mostly empty, meaning matter is incredibly, mind-bogglingly empty. And when we break atoms apart, we find that quarks, what atoms are made of, are also empty. This means that 99.9% of our bodies are empty space, and everything around us is also mostly empty space. How can this be? Well, we quite literally live in a hologram. Working on a branch of physics called supersymmetry, Dr. James Gates Jr. discovered what he describes as the presence of computer code embedded within the equations that describe our reality. Gates found ones and zeros intertwined in the code of reality, indistinguishable from computer code. And it wasn't just computer code, but the same code invented by Claude Shannon in the 1940s. One of the main outcomes of quantum physics has been that our thoughts determine reality. Early in the 1900s, scientists proved this with an experiment called the double-slit experiment. They found that the determining factor of the behavior of energy at the quantum level is the awareness of the observer. Electrons under the same conditions would sometimes act like particles, and then at other times they would switch to acting like waves. It was completely dependent on what the observer expected was going to happen. Whatever the observer believed would occur is what the quantum field did. We can say whatever the observer intended to happen is what they saw. Intent powers creation. Physicist Pascal Jordan is noted to have said, "Observations not only disturb what is to be measured, they produce it." Every photon, electron, and quark in our world is indistinguishable from every other one when you observe them, just as if the same code generated all of them. Time after time again, the evidence is stacked up that our reality isn't real at all, but a malleable hologram. Anything is possible, and the restructuring of reality is dictated entirely by our beliefs and expectations. Many ancient texts say our reality is an illusion and malleable. In Sanskrit, the matrix is termed Maya, meaning the power of creative illusion. It's called the Matrika in Kashmir Shaivism. The Shiva Sutra says, "Our hologram is entirely based on our consciousness, what we believe, think, including our subconscious and the words we speak. Consciousness shines in various external and internal forms. There is no existence of objects apart from consciousness. Therefore, the world is simply a form of consciousness." Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, "Man is made of faith. Whatever faith he has, thus he is." So our reality is not deterministic. We're all creating it with our intent. But the genius of our time, Stephen Hawking, advocates that we do live in a deterministic universe, one with no free will. Shouldn't we listen to him? He works hand in hand with NASA on their fake projects, and his books are filled with bullshit topics like evolution, outer space, black holes, and the like. We all know the Earth is flat, space does not exist since we live in an enclosed flat plane, and evolution, well, you can look that up on your own. Don't listen to Mr. Hawking, or even Albert Einstein, who also claimed free will was an illusion. Free will does exist, and intent is a powerful force. And as we know, when you're lying at the level that Hawking is, the laws of lesser magic state you must reveal some truth. Hawking says, but maybe we are linked to a giant computer simulation. Maybe we are characters in a computer game played by aliens. We are being played alright, not by aliens, which are a lie, but used as energetic food for the parasites who have infiltrated this reality. The Archons and the Reptilians. The Archons, ankle biters, whatever you want to call these energetic parasites, attach through us through the frequencies of anger, fear, and addiction. We already know that like attracts like, the law of attraction. When we revel in these lower frequencies and emotions, we set ourselves up for energetic manipulation. We all know people who used to be free-flowing in their reality, but eventually became a part of the system. This happened not because of maturity or aging like we're taught, but because day to day we're powering this reality. So when we shift our thoughts, perceptions, and attitudes towards confines, the frequency the Archons live within, that is what's being reflected back at us. The world treats us in a limiting way when we believe in limitation. These parasites exist only within a small band of frequencies, but unfortunately, so do many humans. The parasites don't understand love. They only know power, control, and manipulation. Because our souls are pure love at the core, we can rise above their range of frequencies, beyond their planes of existence. When enough of us do this, this whole matrix will collapse. Over and over again, scientists have failed to prove that consciousness comes from the brain. This is because our consciousness is elsewhere and not anchored to our bodies. If you put electrodes into a brain and notice there's activity on a brain monitor, this doesn't mean there's consciousness. In the same vein, you could put electricity through a TV and notice electrical changes on the monitor, but you wouldn't say the TV is what's creating the program. The program must be broadcasted from somewhere else and is using the TV as a medium, as a vessel. As we know, Hollywood is used to hide truths about our world in plain sight. The Matrix is a movie that shows us many truths about the Matrix we're living in. The main character, Neo, is shown the true nature of the world that he thought was real. Early in the film, a parasite is sucked out from Neo's navel. This stands for the parasitic entities that we are all host to. In the next scene, Morpheus offers Neo either the red or blue pill. The red pill would allow him to escape from the Matrix and into the real world, that which isn't a hologram, whereas the blue pill would lead him to staying in the Matrix, living in the pretend world. He takes the red pill, and soon after he wakes up. Neo wakes up from a deep sleep in a pod, which is virtually integrated in the Matrix, a sort of computer that's connecting his real body into the Matrix. Neo looks around and finds that there's bodies as far as the eye can see, plugged into this giant machine. Humans are revealed in the next scene to be plugged into the Matrix in order to serve as batteries, as energy for the parasitic artificial intelligence.
What is the Matrix? Control. The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world, built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this.
Earth, as Neo knows it, is nothing more than a hologram, a fake reality that only appears to be real. So, because Neo has woken up, he is physically unplugged from the Matrix and travels down a chute. He is picked up by members from the city of Zion. He is greeted with the phrase, "Welcome to the real world." Neo asks, "Am I dead?" and is given the answer, "Far from it." In the Bible, Zion is synonymous with the city of God. Most people now recognize Jerusalem as Zion, but I'm telling you this is false. In some schools of thought, Zion was an entry point into a heavenly sphere. Zion in the movie is located deep underground. There's a hole at the center of our plane, and through this opening we experience an interdimensional flip-flop. We travel into a paradise. Zion is located beyond this vortex. In the movie, Zion was allowed to exist by the machines who ran this avatar-like scenario, as a giant pressure release valve on the entire system, allowing the humans that realized the Matrix wasn't real to be conveniently removed and isolated. The machines, the parasites, don't interrupt in this process. They simply let those who wake up out of the Matrix be rescued. The movie The 13th Floor also deals with these same concepts. The main character discovers that his reality is completely holographic. In the last scene, he is killed and wakes up in his original body, connected by a device to the virtual reality system. He wakes up in a bright place that appears to be a sort of paradise. In Avatar, humans are plugged into pods and go into the world of Pandora. In the movie River of Souls, it's revealed that the humans chose to plug into a false reality right as they were about to evolve. What these movies are telling us isn't trivial. They're telling us the reality we live in is fake, and these aren't our true bodies. We have original bodies that are currently sleeping, and our consciousness has merely been uploaded into this reality. We were either tricked into it or willingly plugged in as an experiment that went awry. There's really no way to know. These bodies are like the TV that is being used as a vessel for broadcasting programs. These bodies are avatars. At the beginning of the Matrix, we see a reptilian-type eye. This represents that this place is run by reptilian forces. We know that reptilian eyes are vertical slits. After we see this, a light flash which looks like Saturn momentarily appears. Saturn, as we know, plays an instrumental role in this holographic reality. Saturn and the Moon work in tandem to project square waves that further this matrix. We call this the Saturn-Moon matrix. These square waves reinforce our fake reality, and attempt to keep our spirits and bodies from working at the limitless capacity they should have. The Saturn Moon matrix creates a confining reality for all of us. When I say Saturn and the Moon, I mean the energy bodies, not actual planets, since we live in an enclosed flat plane. That may be hard at first to digest, but these energy bodies still function and do influence us. Cronus is a Greek god often identified with Satan. Satan, as we know, was Saturn in an earlier period. Astrologically, Saturn rules limitation, authority, and time. Cronus is the god of time. Holograms are created by laser interference. So this holographic matrix is in part a result of the interference of the sine waves from Saturn by the square waves from the Moon. The reason the elite worship the energy body of Saturn is because Saturn is the originator of this hologram. This hologram is providing the Archons and Reptilians a place to run rampant, where they can gain power, control, and energetic vitality, just like how Morpheus said, we're batteries. The black cube and hexagram are symbols of Saturn and are seen everywhere. If you're not familiar, look up Saturn worship and do some research of your own. The square and compass is the single most identifiable symbol of Freemasonry, and within it reveals the Saturn Moon matrix. The compass stands for the circular sine waves coming from Saturn. The square represents the square waves coming from the Moon. The free-flowing sine waves from Saturn are going to the Moon, becoming square waves which are rigid, and then directly hit the grid that's been placed on our flat plane. So when the Bible says we were born into sin, it actually means we were born into sine. The free-flowing sine wave reality represents infinite potential. As babies and children, our divine essence is strong, along with our clairvoyant and telepathic powers. But over time and with enough indoctrination, the Saturn Moon matrix's square waves become dominant and we lose this essence. In 2001, A Space Odyssey, this is all alluded to with the monolith. Early in the film, the monolith, which is curiously a black cube, somehow instructs the primitive apes into developing. Later in the film, an astronaut crew is shown on the Moon, where the monolith machine emits a screeching interference pitch from the grid-like structure. Kubrick was revealing that the Moon is broadcasting square waves. This is a tongue-in-cheek way of saying humans as divine creative beings are inherently flawed and required these square waves to put us in our place, hence develop out of primitive savagery. Later in the movie, it's revealed that the Moon monolith has sent radio frequencies to Jupiter. In the novel, this planet is actually Saturn, and it's known that Kubrick made a last-minute decision to change the planet from Saturn to Jupiter. So even though the truth isn't absolutely concise in this movie, the Saturn Moon matrix is being more than hinted at. The Golden Age of Saturn is a time in many ancient texts that was remembered as an age of harmony and bliss. The Greek poet Hesiod said, "A golden race of mortal men who lived in the time of Cronus when he was reigning in heaven. And they lived like gods without sorrow of heart, remote and free from toil. Miserable age rested not on them. The fruitful earth unforced bare them fruit abundantly and without stint. They dwelt in ease and peace upon their land with many good things." An event known widely as the Deluge occurred and ended this golden age of Saturn. Saturn exploded and caused the Earth to go through the greatest of its historical catastrophes. The Deluge is when many scholars say the Great Flood from many ancient texts occurred. Saturn was dismembered, but when it came back together, it was much smaller and contained rings that weren't previously there. Much of the literature on the Deluge talks about how this catastrophe occurred in outer space, but as we know, outer space isn't an actual place. This story is telling us something way more interesting. Saturn has always played an important part in this holographic matrix. Saturn is where the matrix is being projected from, and the sine waves emanating from it used to be creating a fantastic reality. Some of you may be confused now. I want to clear up that Saturn isn't inherently evil, but once it got intertwined with the Moon, the waves emanating from it were changed and used for restricting purposes. So life was fantastic. Think about the Garden of Eden, about the giant trees that used to flourish with abundance, the stories of Lemuria and the continent of Mu. It was the age of Saturn, and true limitation did not exist yet. We reveled in telepathy and unity with the energies around us. But something happened. This holographic projector was hacked. The Matrix was infiltrated by reptilians and the Archons, and the projector, Saturn, was somehow morphed. After the former golden age of Saturn was disrupted, now there existed a new horrible reality. We lost our telepathy and other powers. Time became fixed. Limitation became the law of the land, and this holographic playground ceased being free-flowing. Many cultures talk about how the moon wasn't always in the sky. Interdimensionally, the moon creates a false light trap which, upon death, when we enter through, we are recycled back into another body in this matrix with no memory. I want to quickly present the words solar system, spirit, and incarnate. Our words are spells, built from spelling, and often reveal to us the truth about the nature of reality. Solar system is a soul-lure system. Spirit is a spear-it. This is what the moon and the entities working behind the scenes attempt to do with our spirits. And incarnate. Carn is a root word meaning flesh. In flesh ate. The parasitic entities are eating our energies while we're in the flesh. So just to recap everything I've presented, we've somehow been uploaded into this holographic matrix. Our original bodies exist on the other side of our flat plane through the vortex at the center. This hologram wasn't always corrupted. It used to be fantastic in the so-called golden age of Saturn, but the holographic projector was hacked by low vibration entities that aim to use this part of the plane as a way to achieve power, control, and use us as energetic food. The moon was put up in the sky, and ever since, most souls who physically die are recycled over and over again into this matrix so they can't leave. I theorize that before the moon's existence, we were able to go back and forth between our true bodies on the other side and these holographic avatars. So now we're stuck here. Does this mean it's all doom and gloom? No. Knowing this information can be the first step towards enlightenment. Like I said at the beginning of this video, our reality is powered by our intent. We may have been deceived, but our intent is still the one thing that remains the building blocks for this reality. The reason indoctrination is so vital to the elite and the reason money, sex, greed, and so forth are glamorized is all to redirect our intent. And a lot of us, because of it, haven't yet discovered that solely with our intent does our reality function. This brings me to blood over intent. Our blood is a magical substance. Blood and the intent that goes along with it reprograms this hologram. Want proof? Well, the elite have been spilling our blood and our children's blood for a long time. They spill our blood in wars and fabricated terrorism, and they spill our children's blood, hence the numerous accounts of satanic rituals and the many children that go missing each year. The Georgia Guidestones are, in short, the blueprint for global takeover. You can read the guidelines yourself, and don't let the nice language fool you. From an aerial view, we see blood on the top. The intent is written in the stone, and a blood sacrifice was placed on top of that intent. Here's what I'm getting at. Blood is spilled, and intent can be placed on that blood. The more blood that is spilled over a specific intent, the more that intent comes into fruition. The hologram rearranges itself accordingly. The elite place their evil intent upon our blood, and this helps fuel their twisted acts that go on around the world. There's many of us who are spilling our blood over our divine intent to do the same, to rearrange this matrix for the benefit of all. Here's what you do. There's really no way to mess it up. First, write on a piece of paper, I intend to usher in heaven on earth. You can write other phrases like, I choose to reclaim my divinity, and I choose to love all and exclude none. But these aren't necessary. Do what you feel. You can look up what others have done. Most everyone starts with the intent to bring forth heaven on earth, and they're all different. Mine was pretty long. Don't overthink it. Prick your finger and spill however many drops you feel is enough on the paper. Many people are doing triangles, but this isn't necessary. You can use a knife, but if you're squeamish, I recommend using a diabetes lancing device. You can pick one up for $10 at the drugstore. Follow the instructions and prick your finger. After placing your blood over your divine intent, publish it to the internet. But why publish it? You've heard the phrase, "only the devil hides his intent." If you're willing to publish your intent, it signifies to the universe that this is your true divine intent. I've seen people upload a photo and post it on a blog somewhere, but most people are using YouTube as a medium. Spilling our blood over our divine intent registers the keywords heaven on earth in this hologram. There's already many of us, and over time, when we get enough people, this blood magic will change the essence of this place we're living in. And there will be a point where all of us who spill our blood will be going through the vortex at the center of our plane, into a paradise powered by the black sun, where we will wake up in our original bodies and finally unplug from this matrix. Don't forget to walk barefoot on dry soil and sun gaze every day. This helps us connect with the divine energy pouring out from the sun and from earth. We can speak our intent towards these living entities and gain further guidance in our everyday lives. As I said earlier, when enough of us raise our frequencies, the whole matrix will collapse, and this is my intention upon spreading this information. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay well and centered. I love you all.